Okay, it's January 17th, 2017. It's about 36 degrees and pouring rain outside. It's quite damp and nasty out. My last stoke was last night around 2 a.m. It's currently just shy of 4 p.m. I have not done any stoking since then. My thermal masses have carried through. This is still nice and warm. I'll show you a shot of the inside of the stove. You can see all those ashes in there, and it looks like it's out. And before we go to that, we'll just take a look at the chart quick. Yeah, that's right, I play Mozart to my plants and my cricket. So we'll just take a look here. You'll notice the stove is registered at about 62 degrees, and outside temperature is 32.56, so it's just barely in rain temperatures. And more importantly, the thermal mass H3 and H4 are at 108 and 126. What else? We got the other two thermal masses at 79 and 71 and 69. So you can see there's still quite a bit of heat in there. Oh, and I suppose I should show you the average greenhouse temperature, which is currently 52. So we've dropped to 52, so it's definitely time to start the furnace back up. Apologize for the shaky camera work here. Anyway, so open the stove, we look in, it looks like it's dead, but if you stir these ashes around a bit, you'll see that there's actually a pretty nice coal base in here. And the stove is actually due for a clean out again, but I think I'll do it later in the interest of brevity for this video. So now you see the coals start to light up a little bit. I usually come in and give a few gentle blows to get them to start to light up and get a little more heat production going. You notice here I've split some fairly small kindling to start the fire with, and I also picked up some scraps from outside. They were out in the pouring rain. They are soaking wet. That is actually not as much of a problem as you might think. So what we're going to do here is take one of these pieces of kindling and set it down on the coal bed with a little bit of airspace under it. And I can hear my cricket starting to sing. He's excited, and I'm going to start the fire for him. Alright, and then you kind of build. Well, what I'll do is I'll pause here, I'll get a setup built and I'll show you. Okay, so I've kind of stacked everything in there. I know it may look kind of haphazard, but what you'll notice about my pattern is that I leave space for the coals to get air. I leave space for air to flow in underneath the material that I want to catch fire on, and I leave a little bit of space in the top. I know it's kind of hard to see, but I leave a little space on top so the flame, that when it does start, can creep out through that and continue drying and heating the fuel to get the fuel going. At the end of the day, it's about getting the material that you want to burn, whether it's wood, grass, sticks, twigs, leaves, paper, whatever. You want to get it to its flash point temperature, which will get it to burn. Its flash point temperature is basically the temperature at which the material gives off enough gas, because basically when you burn something, you're changing it to a gas, and that gas is what's burning. So you want to get it to a high enough temperature where the gas comes off it is enough volume that when it mixes with the oxygen, it'll burn, and there's enough heat there to ignite that burning process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow on these flames for a little, or blow on these coals for a little bit, and get the heat level up, and then I'll show you another clip here in a sec. Okay, I literally blew on those coals for about 10 seconds, maybe 10 times, and you can see that they're glowing orange a lot more, and actually a few seconds ago I had some flame coming, so what I'll do is blow on it again. I'll try and hold the camera while I do this. Sorry for the bad camera work. There we go. Always get a little smoke in your eyes doing it. And I'm sure you can see that flame starting up, and you can hear that roar as I blow. Yep. And you can see the smoke rising off the top. I'll turn the light on quick here so you can get a good look at the smoke. Okay. So you can see it's actually already starting to catch. So a little more air. See? Pretty simple, really. You wouldn't have thought all that wet stuff would light up quite so easy, huh? The coal bed is really the ticket. So there we go. We have our first flame ignition on. And from there, we slowly will build up our wood size, and eventually the temperature will come up. So you'll see I'll start to put pieces that are a little bigger on, and a little bigger. And then eventually we'll get up to this size stuff. And believe it or not, it won't take all that long. It's probably about a half an hour from ignition to decent heat production. And I guess I'll try and include a chart. When we first looked at the chart on the Raspberry Pi monitor up there, it was 3:51 p.m. So we'll give you a chart demonstration afterward. For now, we're going to close this and get the draft going a little better, because it's about heat and draft. You want to introduce new air, but not so fast that you cool your material too quickly. But you want plenty of oxygen available. And as you can see, that's starting to catch already. So coming off of coals for a stove light is really easy. It's my favorite way to light a stove. I have not started this fire with paper or cardboard or anything like that since early November. It's January 17th, as I previously mentioned. I've been running off of coals. I do a clean out, I leave a couple of coals in there, and there are times I'll come in and find only one coal with only a little piece of flame on it like that, and I'll start the fire up off of that, because all you got to do is blow on that for a little while, and it'll spread across the coal. And usually what I'll do, if there's only a coal or two left and it's mostly ashes like that, is I'll take that coal, I'll set it on the bottom, and then I'll take some coals. Those coals fall out here, and I put them out with put some water on them, and overnight they dry back out. So I'll take a few of these dead black coals and I'll put them on top of the coal with the cherry in it, and I'll blow on the coal with the cherry in it, and it'll catch these other coals on fire. And in about 5 minutes, you have a hot coal base from which to start your fire. I hope this helps you with starting your wood stoves and fireplaces and campfires, and I hope it helps you understand how to start a fire a little bit better. For now, that'll be it. I suppose another note I should mention is that once I get it going, I gently and carefully stack new pieces of fuel around it. You'll note that I'm not shutting off airflow to the fire or the flame flowing out from the fire, and I typically try to keep pieces like this top one, sorry for the bad lighting, like this top one here, to sit over top of the fire, so that the fire flames are directly licking into that, which will heat that fuel and help it catch fire faster. My final step as I start the fire, there are two vents in the back of this stove. They come in through these air ports in the back corner on each side. I usually leave those set at 1.5 turns open. That just fits this particular stove for airflow. That's usually what I burn at when I want good heat production, and I can dial it down or turn it up to increase heat production or lengthen, time of burn. And anyway, so my final step usually is I'll close this door. I'll leave about an inch crack there, and that helps maintain and contain the heat a little bit, but also helps give a draft. And I'm sure you can hear that. and that's an indicator that it's starting to take off all by itself, and that's exactly what you want. So in about 5 or 10 minutes, that'll be up to enough heat that I can throw some more fuel on it, close it up, and let it rip. And I'll be able to watch from the chart in the house as to how it's doing. Okay, so now you can see it's been about 5 minutes. I just went out and split up a fresh chunk of oak to go in, and I've loaded that on. You notice again I've left gaps so that the flame can work its way up through between the logs. That's critical when you're getting a fire going. It needs to really get that heat spread throughout the material. These logs have been sitting outside, so they're about 32 degrees at the highest, and so they're cold, and it takes them a while to get them up to temperature, but not too long when you got a good cold base and good airflow. Okay, been about 2 minutes. I stuffed a little more fuel in. You can see the fire is really starting to take off in here. The coal base is building up. There's some heat building up. You can feel heat coming out of here actually now, radiating out. So we're pretty much good to go. Usually I will let the stove go for another 5 or 10 minutes and really get it roaring. But given it's fairly warm out today, and 32 degrees isn't too bad, and we've still got quite a bit of heat in the thermal masses, so I'm not overly concerned about producing heat quickly. Even still, this should come up in the next 20 minutes or half hour, I would think. But like I said, I'll include a clip of the chart in here, and you'll be able to see how quickly the stove temperature rises. That said, I hope this video has helped you in some way, and thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network. So it is now 5:02 p.m. We're inside looking at the charts here for the greenhouse. The big red line, as you can see, is the stove, and you can see that just around 4 o'clock it started to climb, and then as the temperature increased and it started to get all the material and wood inside the stove catching fire, you can see it's climbing rapidly now. You can also see that the thermal mass on top has stabilized. You notice there was quite a bit of stratification between the top and the bottom temperatures in that thermal mass. This is H3 and H4 I previously showed you at the beginning of the video, and you can see that they're kind of about the same temperature now and that they're climbing. So the thermal mass is starting to take on heat again, and you can see these two coils here is the blue and the pink line are the thermal mass coils that wrap around the stove and feed that tank on the right hand side of the stove as you're facing the stove, and you can see that those are starting to produce heat now also. The average greenhouse temperature is starting to climb. It is at 57 already, and the stove temperature is at 149. Please remember that that stove temperature sensor is about 6 or 8 inches behind the back of the stove, so that's not actual stove temperature. It's just a way to have a good scale without cooking the sensor that I use for it, because I don't have a high temperature sensor in there yet. High temperature sensors are rather expensive. Anyway, I just wanted to show you how quickly that rises, and so we're making heat. The greenhouse is warming up, and that's all there is to it. You start from a couple of coals, and you put the right material in the right sequence, and away you go with a nice hot fire. So that's how to start a wood stove, or any kind of fire really, from a very small coal base. And you saw when I first opened the stove that the ashes looked pretty much dead, and then when I stirred it up you could see there were coals in there, and then as I got some air to those coals, they heated up, and away we went. I hope this video has helped you with starting and tending your fires a little bit. This is video number 2 of a series of videos I'll be doing on fires and thermal mass and wood heat in general. And I hope that if these videos have helped you and you want to see better videos come out with better information, that you'll support us through Patreon. I'll leave a link below. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching the Pharmacy Seeds Network.